Welcome to Squadron ScaleWorkshop. My name is Brett Green, and yesterday I had a plain brown box drop onto my doorstep from Germany, and inside was a late version test shot from Revell's forthcoming P-51D Mustang. I received a full set of plastic test shots, including the clear parts as well as the grey parts, a draft set of instructions with corrections that are marked out in red, and that's all at the moment. So we don't have decals, but we do have a very good idea of what this kit is going to look like. The first surprise is that it comes in at a very modest parts count of just 144 parts in grey plastic and another 11 parts in clear. But perhaps that shouldn't be a surprise, because these recent 1/32 scale Revell releases, such as the ME262, the Focke-Wulf 190 and Messerschmitt Bf 109, as well as the Spitfires, have been well detailed, subtly textured, and relatively small parts count for the size of the model, but still quite a good level of detail. This model seems to very much follow in those footsteps, very much in the tradition, in fact, of the Revell kits of the 1960s and 70s in 32nd scale. The Revell P-51D represents an early version without the fin fillet and with fabric elevators. And it also has a number of options that are not relevant for this version, but give an indication of what we might be seeing in the future. So, for example, the lower cowl vents provide the perforated version, the louvered version, and also the flat blanked off version. There are a number of specifics to the early model in the cockpit as well. So the instrument panel is specific. There are some separate switch panels as well for the instruments, and the cockpit is really nicely set out. The engineering of the kit is interesting as well, in that both the upper and lower wings are full span. There are some interesting inserts as well. The way they've approached the wheel well and the leading edge makes me wonder whether they could possibly backdate this to a P-51B C as well. But let's not talk too much about it without looking at the parts. Let's break open the box and have a look in detail. We can see that the fuselage halves are broken down into forward and rear sections, and also that there are a couple of inserts around the lower cowl area. A close-up view shows that surface textures are very fine, with recessed panel lines as well as various rivets and fasteners. There's a bit of a nasty sinkhole there behind the exhaust, so that may be an attribute of the test shot. Here are some of the cockpit, undercarriage and miscellaneous fuselage parts. Here we have three choices for the lower cowl vents. You'll see that Revell has given us the choice from right to left of the standard perforated version, as well as the louvered version, which is typical for the P-51K, and the blanked off version as well. Here is the full span lower wing half. There are some interesting inserts around the machine gun areas as well as the front of the landing gear. The inside of the lower wing includes flashed over holes for rocket stubs, although rockets aren't included in this version. The upper wing is full span too, and includes the cockpit floor as its centre section. Structural detail for the main undercarriage bay roof is moulded into the inside of the upper wing. This sprue contains all the parts specific to the early filletless tail Mustang. I like Revell's approach to the fabric covered elevators. Here is the instrument panel as well as racks for the 2 drop tank options. The switch panel for the bottom of the instrument panel is a separate part. This lower cowl cover appears to be specific to the early version P-51D. All the main undercarriage doors are moulded together, which will make life easier if you're building a wheels-up version. Revell supplies deep detail with separate parts for each of the wing wheel wells. Cockpit elements, including the multi-part seat and the armoured backrest. The sides of the tail wheel wells are moulded with the tail wheel doors. Quite an interesting approach. A stout wing spar will ensure the correct dihedral for those full span upper and lower wing halves. Here are the ailerons, the horizontal tail planes and the rudder. The fuselage floor and the fuel tank, and the separate sidewall structures that include the quadrants moulded in place. Revell supplies a pair of 75-gallon metal tanks as well as the 90-gallon paper tanks. I really like the surface texture on Revell's paper tanks. Exhausts are supplied as one piece per side. The stacks aren't hollowed out, but we also have the option of the shrouded exhausts as a separate part. Main wheels and some smaller details. And the standard bubble top canopy. This is really well done. In fact, I had to look very hard to see any kind of centerline seam at all. You could certainly get away with not sanding this and polishing this down. The windscreen is moulded with a small section of the upper fuselage, reducing the risk of getting glue all over your nice clear parts. I'm pretty excited about this kit. I really enjoyed building Revell's Spitfire and also their Messerschmitt Bf109G, 6, G10 and Focke-Wulf 190 as well. And this one really looks like it'll be a similar experience. The surface textures are really subtle, they're very nicely done. The detail is excellent, but the parts count means that it's not going to be an arduous build by any means. We'll have more information about this kit closer to release, and I can tell you it's not going to stay off the modelling bench for very long either. So we'll give you an idea of what it's like to build, as well as what it's like in the box. That's all tonight from Squadron ScaleWorkshop. From Brett Green, bye for now.